Yeah, is it telling me it's working? Oh, there we go. There we go. So,
Yeah.
yep, we're working now. All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Nurse Phill. Welcome to Community Builders Show. We have an amazing show again today for all you people out there that are looking to help people in the community. We've got an awesome guest, and it's a repeat guest, yes, because we loved her the first time. We're going to love her more today. So welcome, Jen. Thank you for coming
Hi,
back.
everybody.
So really great to have you on board.
Yeah.
We had that great talk last time about the documentary you made and with that person you brought into your home and looked after him for so long and did such a great job caring for him. Today, because we know there's so many strings to your bow, and what you do is, you do so many amazing things, and even off here, guys, the stuff we're talking about, like Jen is the go-to person. But one thing we're getting a lot of support workers talking about is how they help their client manage their meals, their mealtime preparation, how they get a better diet for them, those sort of things. So I was wondering if we can go down that side and explain
Sure.
why you're the expert in this area too. That'd be awesome to start with.
Okay.
So thank you, Jen.
No problem at all. Glad to be here.
So because you do that nutrition, you've got your nutrition business. So why did you start that?
I did have a nutrition business. So my working history is that I'm a chef by trade, and I've worked in all different industries in the food industry, from 5-star restaurants, mining camps, and roadhouses. But I've been on a personal journey of health myself from about 1990. So I'm a vegetarian by choice, but I don't try to convert other people to that. But that's just what suits me best. Then in 1998, I started a business. That's actually when I started looking after George. I
Yes.
needed to have something to do. So I couldn't work for somebody else because I needed to have very flexible hours. So I started my own manufacturing business, health food orientated. So I had products. I also did specialized catering as well. So, and I've also done health food presentations, cooking demonstrations, where I've got my own mobile kitchen. I've had audiences up to 400 people where I just have recipes, nice, easy things to prepare, usually plant food based, and do the demonstration, and they get to taste the food afterwards. And that was very successful. And I actually had one of my clients as my assistant sometimes when I was doing that, because it was great to show how easy it was to prepare some of these recipes. This wasn't masterclass.
Yes. Did George help you out?
No, not George. No, this was, I actually started doing the presentations after George passed away. It was around about 2015 that I started doing presentations.
Yeah, right. That's really cool. So did you teach, what sort of meals did you prepare?
So when I was doing the presentations, it was all around lifestyle, health, but it was plant-based. So like I would talk to people, say, like, depending on the job you do, to the type of food you need to be eating. Now, I'm not talking about whether you're a meat eater or a vegetarian, but more like, say, if you're a builder, for instance, working physically hard in the hot sun every day, you're going to need a lot more carb in your diet than someone who's sitting in front of a computer all day.
Yeah.
So working out and adjusting your diet to fit your lifestyle. So if you have more sedentary work where you're not so active, you really need to cut the carbs back in your diet and introduce more fruit and vegetables, because that will give you more energy and stop you from falling asleep at your desk at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Ah, that's a good tip. Yeah.
Whereas if you're a builder and you eat like that, well, then you could fall asleep in the afternoon because you don't have enough energy. So it's about knowing for yourself what your lifestyle's like and then eating accordingly.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's brilliant. With looking after people in the community, how can support workers help prepare meals and do mealtime preparation for their clients? What's some of the tips that they can do?
Well, I think the idea really is to typically try and keep it as healthy as possible. So I hope I'm not stepping back here, but one of my experiences is most people with particularly intellectual disabilities, maybe Down syndrome, have a real tendency for obesity. And junk food is a part of their diet. Now, whether it's come from their upbringing, but they just tend to want to drink far too much lemonade, chips, chocolate, and not good, balanced, healthy meals. What I find is when you have that problem with obesity, you then have different behavioural issues that go with it. Because coming back to, as a nurse, Phill, you'll know that whole saying, we are what we eat. So I tend to find pretty well right over the scale, it's very, very hard to get people with intellectual disabilities to drink water. They just don't like it and they'd rather have soft drink and this overload of sugar and carbohydrates, which doesn't help their brains. So when we're doing meal preparation, it doesn't have to be tasteless. It doesn't have to be horrible. It's about introducing some nice colour, some good health into the food, maybe cutting back on potato and balancing the meal out a bit, but still not making the client feel like that they're missing out on something.
Yeah. So what would be good things to add in? Because I'm sausages and potatoes and a bit of corn and a bit of carrot. You know what I mean? So what other things can they make that would make a meal appetizing to someone, say with an intellectual disability, that they would go, oh, I'll eat that? What's things? Is it like colours or taste or?
You can do some nice salads. You can give them nuts even a little bit, which most people like nuts. And, even again with your vegetables, but again, try not to over fry food. They'll get a lot of fried food, but try and cut back. If you're doing the work at home, cut back on the fried food and but I think, add the sauces, add the spices and things to maybe lift the meal up a little bit. And say, if they're having a pasta, don't add bread or potato to the meal because you just double. Your pasta's you've got the carbs in your pasta. So don't then have pasta with potato and garlic bread because you've just got a triple load of carbs in that meal. So perhaps
that's a good tip.
Do your pasta and then do a nice salad to go with it. And then you're just getting that one load of carbs, but trying and then compensate that with something fresh. And stir fries is another good one. Most people just love stir fries and they're really quite healthy because the vegetables are not being overcooked. And you can introduce lots of nice sauces into it. And look, for an example, one of the ladies I'm with now, she was just living at home, and when she would get home from her activities, there was nobody in the house to sort of monitor what she was doing. She'd have about an hour or two on her own before the family came home. And in that time, she would load up on chocolates, biscuits, and potato chips. And no one was there to monitor that. So while she might have had not bad meals in the home, the overload of sugar and everything else. So what I started doing, even when she was living at the house, was then when I'd get back at the end of a shift with her, I'd do a grazing plate. And on that, I might put some nuts, a little bit of popcorn. Popcorn's good because it's not overly, it's not fried and things like that. We'd put maybe some celery sticks with a bit of peanut butter on it, maybe some light crackers with a bit of hummus. We used to mix it up, a little bit of fruit, a little bit of nuts, and that's what you eat when you come home. So I would leave the house with the grazing plate there, and that's what she would eat. Now, then she had gone to the doctor, because often you see diabetics then becomes a very big problem. And once you start getting insulin dependent and everything else, and you're not changing your diet, it then creates a whole lot of other health issues as well. And I've witnessed that many times over, and I'm sure yourselves have seen when you go out and you see people who are overweight and they're in a wheelchair, they're missing toes, feet. I'm sure, Nurse Phill, you've seen plenty of this.
Seen plenty of that. Yep.
Because if you have the diabetes and you don't change your diet, you're actually slowly killing yourself.
Yep.
And the quality of your life is just starting to deteriorate. So with my client, this started to happen. We took her to the doctor. She was pre-diabetic, and that was enough to shake her up. She came to live with me. Oh, and we just don't have the junk food in the house. So, she actually doesn't really feel like she's missing out on anything, but she's lost 11 kilos.
11 kilos.
Yeah.
That is really good.
And she is feeling so much better. She's moving better.
Yeah.
She once upon a time couldn't put her own shoes on, and now she can.
Really?
So just that little bit more independence, because she's got that bit more flexibility. That was also introducing changing diet, just little things, and then bringing in more exercise.
Yeah.
So the combination of both, and definitely she's much healthier. And look, I will say to support workers, you are challenged here, because we don't have the right to go into someone's house and clean out their pantry and tell them what they can't have. Even though they have a disability, we don't take away that control from them, which I sort of think is a bit of an oxymoron, because what, do you just let kids eat whatever they want to? And some parents do and some don't. But I think it's more about education, and while you're in control and you're on the shift, you think of the healthier things that you can make. Try and find out the types of food that they like, and then just make little subtle changes. And when you're even out with them, like take a bag of popcorn rather than a bag of chips, and not the popcorn smothered in caramel and chocolate and everything else. Just the nice, the
plain one.
Yeah.
Lightly salted. Yeah,
or even corn chips with a little bit of dip or something like that. If you can even cut back some of the bread intake, because a lot of the processed breads are also full of sugar as well. Another thing that you can do is even look up and buy. I mean, there's lots of books now with healthy snacks and things like that. Maybe when you're on shift, go through and find out the types of things that they like, and make some healthy snacks. Put them in the freezer or the cupboard, so they've got a go-to, but try and work with them of something that they enjoy as well.
It sounds like I think the support workers need to start with a conversation with them, don't they, with their client, and really engage with their client and understand what they like and what they don't like as a starting point. Because I do see a lot of support workers, they struggle with where to start. Where do I start with? They go, Nurse Phill, where do I start with all this? Where do I start with finding better options for them? So do you have any tips on how they can start a conversation around their diet and food? And, you know, like instead of saying, like your lady with the diabetes, like diabetes is like sandpaper to your blood vessels, and that's what really gets them. So how would you go about starting that conversation, saying, you know, those lollies and things aren't working, and, you know, I've got some other options for you?
Yeah, well, look, I think a good way to start is even to ask them what types of food that they like. Now,
Yeah,
you know, then they might start with, well, I like McDonald's, and then I like pizza, and I like this. And yeah, okay, but what other things? Like maybe if they've come from home, what are some of the favourite meals that your mum used to cook? Or, you
yeah,
know, try and bring it back to a home cooking scenario rather than a takeaway food scenario.
yes,
And then have that conversation about what they like, and maybe talk to them about, like I know one thing, and I think it's a great investment for every client should be funded for a soda stream.
oh yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
right,
Because I can't tell you how many places I go into with the overload of empty soft drink bottles in their bins or whatever. And I actually think that that's one of the biggest killers of all. Like that is a huge factor, all of that. And then we might go for the sugar free, but then you know what? It's still not that great for you all the time.
mm,
So if you want to introduce them into the habit of drinking water, well, I'm telling you now, most of them don't like water. And
yeah,
so it's it's sort of an almost impossible task to get them to that. But if you invest in a soda stream
yeah,
and then you've got the sparkling water, you can start trying all these little tricks, like buy your own cordial, but only put a tiny bit in,
mm,
or buy a sugar-free syrup, but don't overload it with flavouring, and gradually wean them back off the amount of perhaps syrup you're putting in the soda stream. And then start things like, I love passion fruit in my soda stream water. Like you fizzed it, put
yeah,
it in your glass and put some passion fruit in there, fresh, or fresh raspberries, or something like that.
that's
And
really good.
just gradually start to, you know, cut down the syrups and introduce something so it just doesn't taste like water, but it's
Yes,
actually good for them.
yeah,
And you'll be surprised if you get, like, I mean, I know some of the supermarkets now are doing the sugar-free mineral waters and things like that, but think again, all of this stuff is expensive as well. So
mm,
it's really pulling back on their pension when they're buying all this junk food,
yes,
because it
yeah,
actually, it's not leaving them much spending money. So,
mm,
you know, like one of the things I could advise as a support worker, maybe challenge a client, get a soda stream if you could, and then say, listen, let's work out how much money you spend on soft drink a week, and then maybe make a little goal that when we can cut that out, we can put that money aside, maybe get them a piggy bank or somewhere where they could put that money away, and
mm,
then at the end of the month, all the money that's not spent on soft drink, they could be rewarded with something else that they'd really like. And that then becomes a personal incentive to them, because make it something that they couldn't afford normally. Well, do you
yes,
know what? If you give up soft drink, just soft drink, we could maybe work towards all that money you'd spend on that and put it towards a new iPad, or a trip to see the whales, or whatever it might be,
whatever they want, yeah,
whatever their goal might be. And I used to do that. I think I was telling you in the workplace that everyone had that ladder to climb, and the reward was their choice. When they
yes,
got to the top rung, they got their reward. It works. It's a philosophy that does work. So if you can start to introduce a little bit of that philosophy back into their daily living, their diet, it could have perhaps be the incentive. Even something that maybe they couldn't do because of their health,
Yes.
maybe, you know, well, what about if you cut back on this and we make, as I say, there's plenty of health book recipe books out there now that you
Do you
can
know of a
really
good
get.
one?
No, look, I'm a chef. I don't read recipe books. You know, like I think it's good to probably go into the shop and look for books around the type of food you like.
Yeah.
And most of my cooking's done out of my head. Well, if you're going to cook with them, it's good to have a recipe book. And
Yes.
but like then use that with the client and say, you know what, if we maybe changed your diet a little bit, maybe you would be able to do this because your body will let you do it. And I mean, interesting with my client, now that she's lost 11 kilos, people are starting to notice it. And one of her friends said to her, and I was really quite surprised, I wasn't expecting this, said to her, wow, how do you feel now that you've lost all of that weight? And she said, I feel so much more confident in myself.
Oh, brilliant.
And I wasn't expecting that answer.
Yeah.
So, you know, we think that these people don't care about how they look, but actually they do.
They full on do. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just it gets suppressed because they don't see a way out.
that's correct.
And that's why support workers, it's so important for them to invest the time to talk with them and do what you're saying is set these meal plans, get a recipe book, because like your client there, it does change them and you can. And it like, how long did it take for her to lose 11 kilos?
About 4 months.
Yeah, there you go. So it's not a quick thing. It's not like, bang, I'm going to do it this day and
No.
tomorrow it's going to work. Yay. No, this is incremental. It's you're doing changes that will affect something down the road in months. It might take a year for some people. Who
Yeah.
knows? But it will be positive.
Yes.
You're going in that positive direction.
And it is. It's a lifestyle change. And I think one of the important things is one of the biggest mistakes we can say is never, because that's almost like a death sentence.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
you know, we have times where there are special occasions. Okay, it's treat time. You know,
Yeah.
this is the time you can have some chocolate or you can have a soft drink. But you know, I find myself, as we start to reduce sugar in our diet, you actually crave it a lot less.
You don't
And
want it.
then,
Yeah.
and then you kind of don't want it anymore. You know, like sometimes it's like treat time and I'll look at the donuts and think, nah.
I don't want it. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
But I think, you know, that I really believe in taking things in small steps. So even if you just start with one thing like the soft drink and make a little goal around that, there you go. We've just done step one. Another good thing is if you've got them for the day, if possible, instead of having takeaway food, do something exciting like let's go for a barbecue and
Yes.
take something along or make a fresh sandwich with something, you know, a bit healthier. Go to a park, have a little walk. Look, I have a couple of games in the back of my car like Finska or Bocce, you know, where you throw balls and different things.
Or the stick.
And if it's a nice day, you know, let's be out in the park in the sun, have a little bit of a game, a little bit of a walk, and you're eating something healthy and you're nowhere near the shops. You see, a lot of support workers tend to take their clients to shopping centres all the time.
Yeah.
So my goal is, if you really want to, I know it sounds silly, but if you want to change this diet thing, keep them away from shopping centres because that's where the temptation lies. And it's very, very hard when something is just in your face all of the time to resist it. So great tip for support workers, think of something else to do with your time other than a shopping centre.
And because it's like shopping centers got controlled environment, you know, the temperature's the same, You're close to all amenities, and you know the level floor. So, and that's why it's an easy option. But there is a lot of places out there, like councils spend millions putting in the
Correct.
facilities. There's heaps of facilities out there.
Roma
Parks.
Street Gardens, South Bank, New Farm Park. There's a lot of places, Wynnum, Cleveland, different places that have great level walking paths where you can walk, where there's Springfield Lakes is another one, great
Yep.
barbecue areas, and you do not have that challenge. Look, I mean, it can be a challenge when the temperature's really, really high, but
Yeah.
then maybe go down by the water. Redcliffe is another place, and get a little bit of sea breeze, or maybe dabble your feet in the ocean to cool down a little bit. But all of these things, you know, that you're absolutely correct, Phill, that the council's worked overtime
Yeah.
to create nice outdoor spaces for people.
And what a place to have a picnic lunch, or you know, morning tea or something. You know, you can go, let's go out there for morning tea or a lunch or something. And so you're getting good food, you're getting exercise, and you're getting fresh air, which is
That's it.
and and also, because one of the other side effects of that, which is positive, is you get to interact with other people, because it's very
Correct.
lonely being in your house, very
Yes.
lonely. And knowing that, you know, so at least you get to see people and go, oh, there is a world.
And you know, people don't tend to talk to people in shopping centres because everyone's on a mission, where
Mm.
it's interesting how many conversations you can work into when you're outside. Like, you know, sometimes if we're playing a ball game, you might have a mother with a little kid, and the little kid's interested in what you're doing, and the next thing you're just having a conversation with a toddler or something else. You know, like, it
Yes.
is amazing how we connect more to people when we're outside than inside.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. We do. And and it usually is around food or doing something, you know. So people love it. So and there's like those markets on weekends. You know,
Yeah.
you got those markets you can go to on weekends, and so they can try different foods. You can take your client there and walk up and down, because like you know, they have all different food stalls,
Yes.
and you can go, oh, do you want to try this? Do you want to have a look at that? There might be food they've never heard of,
Correct. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you go, oh, come on, let's have a crack. You know.
And I
Um,
think another good thing is, if you say deciding to do a barbecue, is
yeah,
let them help
barbecue.
you cook it. You know, like,
Yes.
oh, you can turn the sausages, or you can do that, and they're actually involved in it as well. But the minute you take them away from all of that temptation, they'll find it much easier. It may
Mm.
be, you know, when you go, before you leave the house, if you don't want to have a barbecue, just make a nice healthy sandwich.
Yes.
And, you know, it's amazing. They may say they don't like it, but if they've got no choice, they'll eat it.
I'll eat it.
And
Yeah.
then maybe after a little while, they think, oh, maybe that sandwich wasn't too bad. Like, I sometimes try and mix it up a bit, like with a nice bagel or a Turkish bread or something like that, just to sort of make it a bit more interesting. But I mean, it would be the same if some of my clients might have a big roll or something for lunch. Then I'd look at the dinner and think, right, no, try and cut back on the potato on the bread for dinner
Mm.
tonight, and keep it like maybe a steak and salad, or steak and steamed vegetables, or something like that.
Yeah.
And you'll
Nice.
find that
Yeah.
those things will fill you up, and you don't need then to have an overdose of carbohydrates throughout the day. And typically, if you can kind of lower the carb rate at the evening meal, is good, because in the daytime you're burning the energy, at
Mm.
nighttime you're just sleeping. You probably would understand that if
Yes.
we try and keep that a little bit out of the evening meal, then it's giving the digestive system a good chance to work while they're sleeping. and not being clogged up.
That's a very good point, and it keeps them good. What about when your client, like, and you're trying all these things and they just won't budge, and they're being really like, oh, not having it. No, I want my pie and chips.
Yeah.
And they're being really obstructive, and it's only for their own good. Like what we're trying to help them with. Do you have any tips around how you can help the support workers when their clients are like adamant that they want that 2 litres of Coke, or that pie and big packet of chips?
Well, sometimes maybe try and do a little bit of a compromise with them and say, okay, what about we give you a Diet Coke today, and we don't have 2 litres, we just have a smaller bottle, and then you have the pie and chips. Or if it's, say, just the pie and chips, okay, but what about if you have a little bit of salad with it? And rather than just saying no, if they're going to put their foot down, remember, and we can't force them. So, excuse me, perhaps if we try and make a little game out of it, and give them a little bit of a reward or something, take them somewhere they'd like to go, or try and kind of, like, I think about it a bit like children, but without treating them like children, but just giving them a little bit of incentive. And then if you can, having a little bit of a talk, if they're in pain or something, do you like that pain? No. Well, do you know that there's a way that you could help that? And then maybe share, well, if you cut out a little bit more soft drink, or you stopped eating that ice cream. My client now doesn't eat ice cream at all, but she buys those little skinny cows, which is a low sugar ice cream. And it doesn't taste much difference in it. Well, to start with, she was eating 4 of those little tubs in a packet of a week. They've been sitting in the freezer now for a couple of months, and she hasn't even touched them.
Right.
And that's not because I've said anything.
Yeah.
She's just got to that point where maybe it's winter, she doesn't really feel like it, but she's just not really eating that much anymore like that. So, like if you get a bit hungry, nibble on a couple of cashews or almonds or something like that.
Yeah, give them something else to do with, and that's a healthy alternative.
Yeah.
What they
do that sometimes. If they're going to have the pie and chips, say, oh, well, okay, but how about you have a piece of fruit afterwards?
Yes.
Or we're not going to have the 2 litre Coke. Let's just go for the Diet Coke, and you just have a 500 ml bottle. You don't really need 2 litres, because as you would know, the more you drink of that stuff, the thirstier you get.
It dehydrates you. Yeah, the great rate of knots. Yeah. And so, the less water intake, it's just a positive feedback loop of.
Another good thing is to introduce is, if they don't like those sort of things, is try maybe some smoothies. And they can be quite good for you, like healthy, a good way of getting some juices, some fresh juices or something like that. Could be another good way of getting some of those things into your body.
That's really good. And you could start to write a list for other support workers too that come in, and maybe you all get together and go, right, this is the food our client likes, this is the food they don't like, and start to get a good holistic view of what actually can be healthy for them as a healthy choice that they will like, and build into that way. That's really, I like that idea. Well done. Yeah, that's really true, because it is tricky. Look, like we're talking now, and because we've got the show, but we understand this isn't. We're not saying, oh, do all these things at once straight away.
No.
You'll just burn out. It's too much. It's just pick one little tip at a time, and watch this show over and over again, because we're recording it for you, so you can take the bits out of the show as you go and go, right, let's try this. So today we're going to reduce the 2 litres of soft drink down to like a 600 and see
Yeah,
what things we can do. And that's a win. That's a
yeah,
really good win, isn't it?
yeah,
So and that's what, and like you did with the ice cream, like
yeah,
it's just slow things that will come through. So I know, because I can see that a lot of support workers go, oh my God, you guys can do it all. Like, I can't do that. And it's like, yes,
yeah,
you can.
yeah.
Yes, you can. You just do one little thing, just one little win a day. And in 30 days, you've got 30 wins. And it really
That's
is
right.
that. But it's sticking at that thing.
And
And
even if
stuff.
it's just doing that one thing for a month and
Yes.
then, don't change anything else, just work on that one thing until
Yeah.
the adjustment's been made. And okay, now it's time to bring in, and every client will be different,
Correct. Yeah.
but it's also helping them because to try and want to take a little bit of responsibility for it themselves. So, every time you see a little bit of a change, really boosts them up for that. If they lose 1 kilo, it's like, wow, high five, you've done awesome. Now we're
Yes.
not going to celebrate with Macca's, but,
Yes. Yeah. Go back to where we started. Yep.
no. But try and make your rewards something that are not food based.
Yeah. Yeah. Take it
What's
away from the food. Take the food out of it.
Yeah, shift it from food to something else. It's like, well, you know what? If you lose, when they get to a certain goal, maybe it's a new dress or a new outfit or something,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
try and work with their goals of the things that they really like. It might be something as simple as taking them to a movie or, you
Yeah.
know, but let them see that for what effort that they've made, there is something good at the end of it.
Exactly right. Yeah. And then that gives them the good feelings to go. The good feelings aren't because I'm eating junk food. The good feelings is because I've got like my new dress or we've gone to the
Yeah,
movie. That's the good feeling. And so if I work on my diet, I get more of these good feelings over here. And
yeah,
you're
yeah,
right. You got to, because like you say, if they make the reward food, well, you're stuck in the food thing, and
yeah,
they just
that's right.
and it's just like, well, you haven't changed the behaviour of them. So
Yeah.
it's separating it out. Very good. Yes.
And it is, you're absolutely correct. This is a long-term goal, and but I think it's achievable. You've got to make it achievable in just little steps. And I think if we can work towards that way with our clients, we'll find them easier to manage as well.
Oh, totally, totally.
Yeah,
And yeah, because they've got better food in their body, not as much
that's
sugar,
right.
so they're not going up here and then down here and then up here and down here. So their emotions are more regulated.
And they
And
might
and
have less trips to the doctor.
yes, yeah, oh, and exactly right. And to hospital,
Yeah,
and they'd probably have more energy to get out and actually do things,
yes,
and
yeah.
get out there more. But and yeah, like we're not saying it's an easy thing, but these are the benefits that will happen. But it's the persistence of it. It's every day doing that one little thing. That's the thing that support workers do really well. And that's what we want to try and encourage them to do, is go do your one little thing every day. And like what Jen said, even if that one thing is the same thing for the whole month, you know what I mean? That is
Mm.
what is going to make the change beneficial for their client.
And really important too, if you're working with a client in a house, that the support team are all on board,
Oh,
because often, the food can be used as manipulation.
yeah,
And if you've got one of the people on the team saying, well, we won't tell the others, but I'll just let you have these lollies, well, you've just done a whole lot of damage to the relationships to the rest of the team. Because then all of a sudden that person wants to be with that support worker because they're, and it's a secret. We won't tell them, that's really, really negative bringing that attitude into a Phill house.
Correct.
And I've seen it happen. And I had one client, and his sister particularly, because his parents were passed away, every day they'd take him out and give him McDonald's, and she'd write in the communication book over and over again, no biscuits, no McDonald's. And sure enough, that's exactly what they do. So then I'd come in of an evening and he wouldn't eat his dinner.
Oh, right.
He just refused because he wanted a bicky. That person over there gives me a bicky. So then I've now got real behavioural problems with that client because I'm not giving him the bicky that the other person is. So we've got to be, that's really crucial when you're working with diet changes, that you all work on the same page, because you're going to have real problems, behavioural problems, if you don't.
Yes, because I'll start playing one off the other, and so all the support workers need to read the care plan and follow it. And if they've got any questions, talk to their supervisor about it, or
the family,
or the family whoever's running the care plan. And so you've got everyone is coming in on the same page, because it's there to benefit the client. Like sneaking McDonald's and sneaking extra lollies and chips and biscuits is not doing anyone any good.
No, and look, on the other level too, there's probably some of you support workers out there that are not necessarily working in a Phill environment, but you might just have a client 3 days a week, and you have no control then what the other support workers are doing in that environment. So you can only do your best for 3 days a week, or the shifts that you've got, and you can't actually, not necessarily having any input on what the other support worker's doing on the other days. So in that way, my advice to you would be, if say like you've got 2 or 3 shifts a week, you go out there and do what you do, and then try and put the fun into it, capital letters fun. So even though they may not be getting the junk food that everyone else is giving them, you're giving them something healthy with something else really fun, and they'll probably relate the two together. So it's not like then, oh, I don't want that support worker. It's don't, because if you're just going to be not offer a great service and just give them healthy food, they'll probably go back that they don't like you and they don't want to be with you anymore. But I did this with this other client, and actually they wanted to be with me more, and it really had nothing to do with the food. It was actually to do with the fun that we had, you know? So if you're in that scenario where you don't have that full control of what's going on all the other times when you're not on shift, put the extra energy and work into making your time awesome.
Exactly. So they look forward to it, and and then they go, all right, I'm coming with Jen. She's going to be amazing. So no, that's fantastic. Is there any other tips that we haven't covered that you wanted to explain to people?
Not that I can think of. I think we've pretty well covered it all. You know, just encourage you all to realize how important this is and beneficial it is to the client. And every time they have a win, you're going to have a win as well. So remember this, you're not just doing it for them, because you'll feel really good when you see this client reaching their full potential. So it's a win-win. And look, sometimes you might feel like you're bashing your head against a brick wall, but look, just keep mixing it up. If one thing doesn't work, try something else. You know, just persevere with it and try and, you know, and that's just all it is sometimes. Not every box fits for every person, so you've just got to experiment and don't give up. Just wait till you find the thing that works for you and your client.
And that's exactly right. No, that's brilliant advice. Thank you so much for your time today. We've had
very
an
welcome.
extra big show, so everyone should be very grateful to have you on, Jen. So
I'm happy to be here. It's good.
yeah. Oh, brilliant. So glad that you all listened. I hope you get a lot of tips out of it. This is one episode you'll probably want to listen through a couple of times and take notes, because there is a lot of gold in here to actually help you and your clients around mealtime, and both of you get the win-win situation. So yeah, love it.
Well, good luck, everybody.
Thank you. So yes, thank you, Jen. That was a brilliant episode. And thank you everyone for listening to Community Builders Show. Like and subscribe and follow us on all the socials, and we'll look forward to seeing you on our next episode. So thanks, Jen.
Bye.
And thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stop.